As big VR releases go, Metro Awakening definitely doesn't disappoint, and if you've been part of this channel over the last 3 or 4 months, you'll know I've featured it a couple of times both on Quest and PSVR2, which gave me a high bar in terms of expectations when it comes to finally getting my hands on the full release. For today's review, I've played Metro Awakening 3 times, once on MetaQuest 3 playing normal difficulty to completion, once on PSVR2 to around chapter 10 playing the hardest difficulty, and finally I stepped into PCVR just to check out how it looks on my system. And if you're not going to hang around for my full thoughts on Metro, I advise if you're an experienced VR user and accustomed to shooters, I would go for the harder difficulty. It felt more like a survival VR shooter, the enemies take more shots and the ammo was more scarce, and this added to an overall larger sense of dread which I personally enjoyed. So to be clear, normal mode is good for those who want action but more focus on story. Now before I get into the full details about how I felt once the credits roll, I have to say that Metro Awakening has exceeded my expectations. Now don't get me wrong, there are some negatives. The environment has a lack of interactive elements, and it does have some interactive elements like cans and stuff you can pick up and books. Overall, the world does feel a little bit more static than I would have liked. There's also a few bugs that I experienced. On Quest, you'll see some floating bits of debris and textures pop in sometimes. On PSVR2, dying caused me to lose sound, which was quickly remedied by going back to the main menu and restarting from my last save. But overall, I would already consider Metro as one of the best VR games on any platform. From the moment you enter Metro Awakening's opening menu, you'll see Vertigo have upped their game in a few areas, and this could be the best game they've made to date. The story is very compelling, but it also did lose me a few times on my first playthrough, but that made the second playthrough all the more better because the story and the characters just made so much more sense, and that led me to pay attention to other aspects of the game that didn't quite hit home the first time round, and the second time round was absolutely brilliant. I would expect most players' first playthrough time to take around 8 to 10 hours, and the second time took around 6 to 7 on the hardest difficulty, but that is without searching for all the collectibles, which in the case of Metro are photographs, and there is a lot of them, and even though I did take my time to search around, I think I've only found just under half. Metro can also be played comfortably seated, but I would advise a stall over sitting in a chair due to reaching behind yourself a lot for the backpack and the health stims. The atmosphere in Metro Awakening is so compelling. It's full of tense moments, and as a fan of the Metro series, wiping moisture from your mask using your hands was a very special moment. The weapons all feel great, especially when it comes to reloading the Shambler shotgun and the Helsing crossbow. The enemies pose a good threat too, especially the lurkers, which dart in and out of vents and run at you unexpectedly in the dark, just showing their green eyes. The human AI is pretty good too, and definitely more of a challenge on the harder setting. It doesn't take many shots to take you down, and you have to scavenge every single weapon magazine you can find for the next encounter, unless you are a one headshot wonder with the pistol, which by the way is pretty awesome too. And what I'm really pleased to see is that Metro Awakening isn't scared to hit players hard in the face. Multiple times lurkers jump at you, and the mutant spiders maybe want to nope out quite a few times. These spiders literally grab hold of your face and walk around your head, causing me to panic in a way I haven't experienced in a long time, and it's a clever combination of haptics and sound that make these moments really stand out. You can literally feel the spiders on your hands, so if you have arachnophobia, this is going to test you as it did me. Personally, this is why I love VR. You feel so much more connected to the games, and in particular Metro is very atmospheric with great sound effects that play on your senses. The music in Metro Awakening might also be the best I've heard in a VR game for an exceptionally long time, or maybe ever. I would put it up there with a game like The Last of Us in terms of how the music made me feel. The voice work is superb, and after Batman, it's great to play another high quality title in 2024. So onto the graphics, which are superb in my opinion on all platforms. Starting with the MetaQuest. Metro does use reprojection, aka asynchronous space warp, but this is only noticeable using the menu pointer and tutorial messages, which can be disabled. Obviously these messages are only used in the opening of the game, and overall it's pretty incredible what they've managed to achieve on MetaQuest 3 and MetaQuest 3S. And there is also some MetaQuest 3 enhancements. You get anisotropic filtering, which adds more sharpness, increased render resolution, and higher texture memory. The only negatives versus the other platforms that really stood out playing in Quest was the texture pop-in of static things like the environments. For example, the faces on the dead bodies bodies that you'll come across. But these are minor gripes, and since it's my first playthrough was on the Quest, I remember seeing the credits roll and looking back on the experience as nothing short of brilliant. If you're thinking of picking the game up, I've included my affiliate link in the video description where you can save 10%. I then dived into the PSVR2 version, which I believe uses reprojection from 60Hz to 120, but the frame rate is pretty solid throughout, and after a short time you forget the minor stuttering that reprojection causes, leaving you with a truly fantastic game. The textures, colours, deep blacks and bloom effects are superb, and the game never gets boring to look at. And also Metro Awakening does make great use of headset haptics and adaptive triggers. Now, depending on your rig, the PCVR version is the standout version visually, but in no way is it vastly better than PSVR2. Somehow, Vertigo has managed to make an impressive offering regardless of what platform you choose, and that does need to be applauded. So to summarise, Metro Awakening does have some minor rough edges and world interactions that do not match the quality of the rest of the game, but as a fan of the series, I can only hope this isn't the end of Metro for VR, because once you've stepped foot into this world in a VR headset, it's going to be hard to want to go back to a flat screen. I cannot emphasise enough how brilliant this has been to play. 2024 is looking to be the best year for VR gaming I've experienced since 2016, and that is even more true now we have Metro Awakening as part of 2024's lineup. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe for more VR content, and I look forward to reading your comments as always, and I'll see you on the next one.